We have a great guest panel today. We're going to be talking about electrification incentive and finance program details. This is going to be really great for anybody that is looking for some financing to get electrification done, or those contractors that might be out there. We may uncover some hidden gems here for you. There's several home electrification training programs that are going to be discussed today, and then we'll wrap it up and close. Slide. This is the third in our 6-part series. If you haven't seen the first two, I would say going to look at the archive might be a great idea. They're pretty cool. And today we're talking about the training programs. Next week is a really great one. We're going to talk about overcoming heat pump objections. So you contractors out there, this is a great one to help you with the conversation with the customer. And if you happen to be somebody that's looking into electrification or just want to learn more, we'd love to hear what your questions would be next week as well. Heat pumps done right, a case study will be on the 21st. We'll bring a couple of really great case studies, show you what's going on out there. And then on 4.4, the why and how of home performance for electrification. It's really important that we do this stuff right. Next slide, please. Our areas of focus. So this program is really about single family residential building electrification. That's what we specialize in here at Electrify My Home. We talk a lot about heat pumps and heat pump water heaters, overcoming those electrification barriers in the houses like electrical panels and such. Some really cool approaches to optimizing comfort and making sure that our heat pump upgrades in our houses turn out to be a net positive for our customers out there, and how to get there and what we need to pay attention to have really great outcomes with all of that is super important. And all audiences are going to benefit from our program, but especially contractors and industry professionals. But I've actually heard from some homeowners through this webinar series as well. So anybody that's interested in electrification, this is great. Next slide, please. There's some great speakers coming on here today. I'm super excited about this. We're going to cover a lot of ground here today. Anybody who knows me, staying under 3 minutes is tough for me. So I have my stopwatch going over here. I got a few more seconds. We got some great people here from tech, from training, talking about smart homes, CAL programs, and one of my favorite financing programs out there. Thank you all for joining us. Please join us next week, or excuse me, 2 weeks from today for the next in the 6-part series. And I'll hand it off to our first guest speaker.
Hey, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and join, or actually restart my webcam, and we're off to the races. So I have 5 minutes today to talk about the numerous resources available supporting building and transportation electrification at pge.com/electrification. Common theme today is scan the QR code. So let's go back to that previous slide, please. For pge.com/electrification, you'll see resources for property owners, renters, and workforce professionals advising on residential electrification projects. On the customer side, PG&E has launched a new residential rate plan, E-Elec, to support home electrification. To qualify for the E-Elec rate plan, you must own one or more of the following electric technologies: an electric vehicle, battery storage, or an electric heat pump for water heating or space conditioning. You do not need to be all electric to qualify for the E-Elec rate plan. Also, by visiting pge.com/electrification, you'll be able to see a link to register and manage your PG&E online account to do a rate plan comparison. This allows you to check your electricity baseline and electric rate plan options to make sure you're on the best rate plan based on how much electricity you use and when you use it. You may also be eligible for additional baseline allowance if you install an electric space heating as your primary source of heating, such as a heat pump. On the workforce side, by being here in this training, you're taking advantage of one of the no-cost training opportunities offered by the PG&E Energy Center. The PG&E Energy Center also hosts no-cost electrification training in other sectors such as agricultural, commercial, HVAC, food service and technology, our non-residential buildings track, as well as our lighting track. By visiting the pgne.com/electrification page, you can also find a link to the PG&E Your Projects portal to submit an online application for electric panel upgrades or to shut off gas service to your home. In the residential training I help coordinate, we demonstrate how you may be able to avoid panel upgrades with low amperage products or circuit sharing devices, but in some cases, an electric panel upgrade may be necessary. And lastly, for questions about program support or the development of local energy ordinances, there's an email address on our electrification page to contact, info@localenergycodes.com. Or if you'd like requests for to request a PG&E speaker, like the speakers that deliver our training here, or a letter of support for your local energy ordinance, there's the email to contact in front of you, electrification@pgne.com. And we'll go to the next slide. I want to talk about our induction cooktop loaner program. So pgne.com/induction loaner is the site to visit if you want to learn more. You can try induction cooking at your own home. This allows you to borrow a unit for 2 weeks at no cost, and you can reap the multiple benefits of induction cooking. I borrowed an induction cooktop around the holidays. We really enjoyed the experience. The entire process from registering to returning the package was super easy. Sometimes those package returns can be a little difficult for me, so fortunately, that was very easy to navigate. You can scan the QR code there in front of you. Another common theme, as we mentioned, are programs. Check with your local regional energy networks, your CCAs. I know Helen may mention this later, but CCAs like Sonoma Clean Power have induction cooking programs where they also can lend woks and double hob stovetops, and they may even do induction cooking classes at their local energy center. I know the Sonoma Clean Power CCA has an advanced energy center in downtown Santa Rosa. I'm hoping to visit that shortly and take one of those induction cooking classes at the Advanced Energy Center. So great offerings through PG&E, also through your CCAs and RENs as well. And we'll go to the next slide. The tool lending library here, just really quickly, PG&E/tools is where you'll find the tool lending library. So if you're working on energy efficiency projects or electrification projects or want to do some DIY testing, you'll want to reserve tools, and you can pick those up in person or have the equipment shipped to you at your cost. Also, if you're, if you have new ideas around tools or equipment supporting electrification, you can email us at pectools@pgne.com with your suggestions. Again, QR code, you can see the inventory and register and start reserving your tools there. And finally here, finishing up on our workforce education and training piece in the next slide. In collaboration with the Passive House Network, the PG&E Energy Center is offering a certified passive house designer training. This hybrid on-demand and live webinar training certification is another opportunity to train professionals around decarbonizing our building stock. So a few pieces to mention here. There is a $500 tuition rate for the training certification and exam. We've worked with the Passive House Network to offer a 75% tuition discount, and we also have discounted tuition rates available upon eligibility. There's limited training seats in our hybrid and live cohort that's upcoming in April. So if you want to learn more and apply, you can visit the URL there, or again, scan the QR code on the bottom right. And with that, the section concludes. I'll go ahead and pass it off to Chris, who will talk more about our residential energy efficiency programs. Chris, over to you.
Great, thanks, Javier. I'm Chris Xu, one of the program managers on the residential energy efficiency team. Today, I'll be sharing some practical ways to implement energy efficient practices with some of the programs at PG&E. There are a lot of benefits to energy efficiency, so I'll walk through 3 of them before reviewing the programs. First off, reduce energy bills. One of the primary benefits of energy efficiency is to lower energy bills. By using energy efficient appliances, lighting, and HVAC systems, you can significantly reduce your energy consumption, which translates to lower energy bills. Environmental sustainability. Energy efficiency also helps reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and by reducing your consumption, you're also reducing the amount of fossil fuels needed to generate unclean energy, so basically reducing power plants. And then lastly, increase comfort. Energy efficient buildings are often more comfortable to live than traditional buildings. They're better insulated, have more light, and are generally more pleasant to be in. The first program that we'll be talking about is called Home Energy Checkup. This is a free 5-minute online survey to understand how much your home energy uses. So basically, you can complete a survey and get custom recommendations to optimize your home. So you can check this out at pgne.com/home checkup. The second program is called Home Intel. This is a free online energy analysis based on smart meter analysis, and they provide custom recommendations on the phone coaching, and they will kind of walk you through unique aspects of your home and how you can turn off certain appliances to optimize your home. One example is they could really optimize like a hot water heater and be able to either put it on a timer or put it on to like non-peak hours to see how to better operationalize your home. And that's a personalized journey through understanding your energy profile and how to make energy efficient decisions in the home. Bill forecast alerts. This is where PG&E will help send out communications that notify customers when they are in line for a high bill. This gives the customer more time to adjust to the rate accordingly. So the chart on the right-hand side, it kind of shows you some examples of how much you're tracking, how much your bill is forecasted to be, and the customer can look at those tips and see, oh, how do we scale back and how do we reduce energy to lower our bill overall. And this can be sent through SMS, phone, and email. This is the Energy Action Guide and Product Rebate. So this is a helpful link just to kind of walk through some tools to navigate energy efficient solutions and to see basically certain products and resource information for customers. So I would recommend just like kind of clicking through that and being able to look at the different rebates that are available for battery storage and generators and different rebates that are available. California Energy Smart Homes. This is a statewide program offering cash incentives for single family and multifamily low rises. And one of the primary things is getting incentives for installing electric heat pumps and other all electric measures in new and existing homes. The primary reason is to see how do we transition to all electric construction. Layered incentives. This program is just to help customers understand all their rebates and understand certain areas of how they can stack on certain incentives. And this is based on location, utility provider, and the customer. So I recommend checking out the switches on to find out which incentives you can qualify for. All you need to do is enter in your zip code. The Water Saver program, this is a thermal storage load shifting program that heats water outside of peak period, but keeps it hot when it is needed. One of the benefits of this program is that the electric water heater will automatically shift some of this energy usage to time when energy is cheaper. So on the bottom of this paragraph here, it shows some of the rebates there or some of the incentives there. So single family residential customers earn a $50 gift card as an enrollment incentive, plus additional $5 gift card credit every month of participation to be able to use this automatic load shifting. And lastly, our last program is the Energy Savings Assistance Program. This provides qualified customers with home improvements at no cost to keep their home more energy efficient, safe, and comfortable. So I recommend following this link here, pg&e.com/energy savings, to find out if you qualify based off of income. And lastly, this is just another link just to provide COVID-19 related support. And with that, I'll pass it off to Peter Florin.
Hello, everybody. I am Peter Florin, the Tech Clean California Implementation Manager. And first of all, a big thanks to PG&E and Electrify My Home for inviting Tech to present. It's always an exciting opportunity to spread what Tech is doing far and wide. Next slide. One more. Thank you. So first off, what is Tech? I'm sure many of you have heard of Tech at this point, but Tech Clean California is California's flagship heat pump market transformation initiative, which aims to put California on the path to its goal of 6 million heat pumps by 2030. And recently, the initiative was awarded an additional $50 million, and this budget will be available statewide. So no longer are we limited to only customers within gas IOU territories, but instead we are able to expand truly to a statewide offering. So this is a really exciting progression in the initiative. And there's going to be a lot more about Tech than what I have time for today. So I would highly encourage anyone interested to go to our data website, techcleanca.com, where we house all of the information recordings from our previous stakeholder meetings. Next slide. So Tech is quite a bit more than just an incentive program, as can be clearly seen on this slide. The activities are split into statewide efforts, of which incentives are just one of, and regional pilots. And both of those are built on a foundation of data collection and reporting. And for those of you really interested to know more about on the data side, digging in, I would highly recommend you check out, again, another plug for our data website, techcleanca.com, where you can find installation data from over 20,000 installations. And we plan to get real meter impact data on there sometime later this year. So some really exciting stuff. But for today, I want to focus primarily on information about our single family incentive relaunch that is coming up, as well as our available workforce training activities. Next slide. And so again, we'll just be focusing just on single family today. If anyone is interested in multifamily, please reach out in Q&A and I can provide a link to where you can find more information. Again, I'll be moving fairly quickly, but I'll be available to answer questions throughout the rest of the webinar. So at a high level, here's our single family incentive relaunch. HVAC will be launching very soon, sometime in the next couple months, and available 100% statewide. Water heaters will be launching then later this year to align with the release of the SGIP heat pump water heater program, which will be administered through Tech. Next slide. So some more details for HVAC. The incentive structure will be a flat $1,000 available everywhere in California. And again, there are no utility constraints, no variation by utilities. This is truly just a statewide offering. So $1,000 per unit, and each project can get up to 2 incentives per household based on the number of outdoor units. We are then waiting final approval on the minimum efficiencies accepted into the program, so stay tuned for more details. Next slide. Then as mentioned, the water heater incentives will be offered through the SGIP heat pump water heater program administered by Tech. This program has an over $80 million budget to support heat pump water heater installations for single family, multifamily, and commercial customers. So while significant details are being finalized, I can share today some high-level info about these requirements. And just noting some key ones are that the units must be installed to shift load off of peak period. Installations must include the thermostatic mixing valves, and customers must be enrolled in a demand response program. So it's really helping to tap into the load shifting and energy savings capabilities of heat pump water heaters. Next slide. And those requirements, they do come with some pretty major incentives, as you can see here. So again, this is just the single family residential unitary incentives. But if you are installing a over 55 gallon unit, need a panel upgrade, and it's a low GWP product, you can get up to $7,300. So really, really large incentives coming. Next slide. And last key point about the incentives is that the tech incentives are 100% stackable, meaning, just as an example, if you're a customer in the Bay Area, you can get $1,000 from tech, $1,000 from BayRen, and a $2,000 tax credit. And obviously, you would need to confirm that the project qualifies for all of them individually. But the base idea is that tech is stackable. So, I know that the rate is dropping from $3,000 to $1,000, but again, that is easily able to be recouped with other more local programs. Next slide. And one more. So on the workforce education and training side, Tech has some really stellar offerings covering heat pump system training from National Comfort Institute, electrification sales and installation training from Electrify My Home, heat pump water heater training through a partnership with Energy Star, and then multifamily specific trainings with AEA. And all of these trainings are offered free of charge to tech contractors. So a really fantastic opportunity to get trained by an all-star group of training organizations. And then this slide just shows the trainings currently scheduled by Tech's 3 training organization, NCI, EMH, and AEA. Lots of topics, and unfortunately, they are limited to tech-enrolled contractors. But if you are a contractor listening in and some of these sound interesting to you, definitely encourage you to sign up for the training. Some of them are coming up very soon. And then on the heat pump water heater side, we are partnered with the Energy Star Manufacturer Action Council to offer heat pump water heater specific trainings. And unlike those previous trainings I was showing, these are open 100% to the public. You do not need to be a contractor, let alone a tech enrolled contractor, to attend. And you can see some of what the topics are that will be covered there. So if you are at all interested in learning more about heat pump water heaters, feel free to join these trainings to get a firsthand look directly from the manufacturers. And I know there's just the QR code here, so I will drop in a actual URL to the sign up. Next up. And just to display, the SMAC training is then only the first step in our heat pump water heater training plan. From there, participants are connected with the manufacturer of their choosing to go through a more in-depth manufacturer-specific training. And then for eligible tech contractors, once you go through that manufacturer training, you can receive a free heat pump water heater to install in your own home. So there's really, we have this belief there's no better training than actually living with and operating an appliance of your own. So we really want to lower that barrier and get these units into the hands of those who will be influencing the direction that California's electrification movement will be going. With that, that brings me kind of to the end. Just to leave you with some next steps, if you are a contractor, again, listening in, here's a link to where you can go to sign up for Tech. It's a really low effort to get signed up. You would just sign up, submit your information, watch 10, 15-minute onboarding video, then you're good to go. And for everyone, here are some resources to leave you with. Just general program resources, specifics on multifamily, and then again, another plug for the public reporting site. So on behalf of the entire Tech team, again, big thanks for inviting us to speak today. I will hand it off. Hand it off to Melinda.
Super, thank you, Peter. Hi, so I am Melinda Denon. I am the marketing manager for Energy Smart Homes program with TRC. Energy Smart Homes is a residential new construction and alterations program that promotes advanced energy efficiency. Next slide. So Energy Smart Homes is administered by PG&E on behalf of the California Electric IOUs and funded by the CPUC. The team at TRC is implementing the program and supporting participation from enrollment through incentives. As a steward of ratepayer dollars, our team uses a multi-point strategy to prevent customers from receiving duplicate payments for the same incentives. However, when the funding source is different, like tech is from cap and trade funds, or if the program incentivizes something different, such as insulation or lighting, then incentive layering is encouraged. Next slide. This is just a quick map that demonstrates the eligible electric IOU territories for this incentive program. Next. And then one more. Super. So I just want to define single family includes duplexes, townhomes, and ADUs, and multifamily low rise, which we're not focused on today, but that is 3 stories or fewer. So whole building electrification means converting all gas at the property. So that's all gas appliances and capping the gas line to receive incentives. The program has an open-ended baseline, which means if you have propane heating, you're still eligible for incentives and to participate. A few points I wanted to touch on. If perhaps your property already has one of these items listed that's already electrified. So each property must replace one major appliance, and that can be domestic hot water or space heating, replacing that with a heat pump technology, and one additional item, and that could be cooking or clothes drying to qualify for Energy Smart Homes. If the property has received an incentive from a similar program, such as BayREN or the utility, such as PG&E, for the same measure, we're going to subtract that incentive out. So again, we're just making sure there's no double dipping. Next slide. All right, this is what you've been waiting for, the money. So the incentives are de-escalating based on the project's year of completion. The program does not have an approved listing of contractors, so the property owner can choose to work with any licensed contractor they choose. The application can be completed by the property owner, a contractor, or another third party, and then the property owner can choose to whom the incentive is paid. So if you want to just direct the incentive to your contractor, not a problem. I also want to emphasize that the program is well funded through 2025, but let's connect and get your projects enrolled for some electrifying incentives in 2023, because those are the higher dollars available. Next slide. So this is again talking about layering. So we offer end user rebates for whole building electrification in existing buildings. Yes, they can layer with Tech Clean California and most CCA programs, with the exception of MCE. And then the IRA programs, the IRA programs are also eligible to stack because it's a different funding source. So this is worth repeating that if a property has already received an incentive from BayREN or an IOU in the last 5 years, that's our look back period, for one of the appliances I previously mentioned, then that incentive will be deducted from the total amount to avoid double dipping. But if the REN or an IOU program is incentivizing different measures such as lighting or the envelope or smart meters, layering's encouraged. Next slide. Just quickly, we offer new construction incentives for single family ADUs and multifamily low-rise project. And that should take us to the next slide. And the end, this is the resources on how to connect with us. So thank you for the opportunity, and let's be in touch. Perfect. Introducing our next speaker, Kelly. take it away.
Hi, thank you. Nice to meet you all. My name is Kelly. Can we move to the next slide, please? I am a program specialist with the Go Green Financing Program. We are a energy efficiency financing program administered by the state of California with support from, among others, PG&E. I'm coming to you from our lovely capital of Sacramento, and we help connect homeowners, renters, and business owners to participating contractors and approved lenders to access really competitive financing for energy efficiency and electrification upgrades. Next slide, please. There's a lot of options for homeowners to pay for energy efficiency or electrification upgrades, and they're all equally valid and great. So there's secured bank loans, there's credit cards, there's home equity loans. Those are all perfectly great options. They might have longer approval periods or higher interest rates, and might result in a tax lien on the home. So what makes Go Green Home different, and the benefits that we are able to provide to borrowers, which are unique, is we're designed to help homeowners and renters just find more attractive financing. And we do this by partnering with approved lenders who can offer better rates and more flexible credit requirements. And so some of our benefits include unsecured financing that doesn't require any home equity, and there's no lien that's placed on the property. That allows you to enjoy, our financing allows you to enjoy flexibility and control with your finances with long-term low payment options. We offer very competitive interest rates and no closing costs or fees, and that can mean much more affordable monthly payments. I think right now our lowest interest rate for a 30-month term loan is 2.95%, which is pretty amazing in today's economic climate. There's also no money down, so you can do 100% financing, and it's available to people with a broad range of credit scores and incomes. We really strive to serve underserved borrowers, and so we encourage all borrowers to apply. Also beneficial for both contractors and homeowners is the ability to finance those sometimes legally and practically necessary costs, such as an electrical panel upgrade or permit fees. And my personal favorite feature of the program is the ability to include other home projects up to 30% of the financed amount. So that includes things like kitchen cabinets or drought tolerant landscaping. You can include that in your loan, again, up to 30% of that final loan balance. Next slide, please. Our contractors also enjoy many benefits of partnering with us and offering Go Green Home. Possibly the most compelling reason for contractors is that we do not have any expensive dealer fees. We know some of you are paying thousands of dollars a month in dealer fees to other lenders, and we're proud to offer financing that does not have anything like that. You also, of course, just gain the legitimacy of offering affordable financing from a program that's backed by the state of California. You're automatically included in our public contractor listing and our statewide marketing efforts, and we can supply you with co-branded marketing flyers and other materials. We have a contractor support team that's available to take phone calls or emails with questions, with paperwork or project eligibility questions. And at the end, the payment is made directly to the contractors from the lenders within 24 hours of loan origination and final signatures. Next slide, please. Just really quick overview of our eligibility requirements. So available to any California resident who owns or rents a property, again, 1 to 4 units, and that can be a single family home or a townhome or a manufactured home, fourplex, triplex, duplex. It could even be a unit in a condo, right? So if you own a unit in a condo, that also counts as single family to us. You must receive electric or natural gas service from any of our IOUs. This is a PG&E webinar, so we can say if you receive electricity or gas from PG&E or a CCA in PG&E Territory, you're eligible. And yeah, pretty standard borrower requirements. It's actually really up to our lenders to make the final lending decisions, but borrowers with no credit scores are eligible. Many of our lenders allow borrowers with scores as low as 580. And then the maximum amount of the loan per unit. So if you're working with a fourplex, for example, this would be per unit of the fourplex is $50,000. So pretty compelling amounts. Next slide, please. Just a quick overview of the process. We put a lot of effort into making this as simple and as straightforward as possible, where you don't have to really deal with us or any state bureaucracy. So basically the customer, you as a customer would choose your contractor and the lenders from our website. Lenders will review and approve project scopes, usually within 24 hours. And you complete the project. At the end, the contractor and the customer sign some documents and they submit them back to the lender, and the lender actually submits it to us. So you may never have to deal with us throughout this financing process, but you're getting electrification measures and energy efficiency upgrades and having a much more comfortable electrified home. One more slide really quickly. Sorry, 2 more slides. I just want to give a quick overview of some potential projects. What I really like about financing is that it can help you maximize your energy saving potential with comprehensive whole home projects. These can be more expensive, but financing can help you make sure that you get the project that you want and maybe even align your savings with your monthly payment amount. So here we see a sample project for a heat pump. We've got some duct sealing, and then we've got some drought tolerant landscaping added on there. Following some rebates, we've got a project total of $18,000. So before, financing or rebates, if we had a borrower who was looking at a $22,000 project with a standard sort of market interest rate of 13.99%, most loans only go up to 60 months or 5 years, that borrower could have been looking at a monthly cost of $511. With Go Green Home and after rebates, our current average 120-month loan term, so a 10-year loan, is 5.43%, and our borrower would see about $194 a month, which is much more accessible and affordable, and you'd save over $3,000 in interest. And then one more slide and I'm done. I like financing for big comprehensive projects, but financing can also be a great tool for smaller projects, again, to help the borrower get the project that they want without having to just pay for it all up front and hitting that barrier. So in this example, we see a borrower getting a project for a heat pump water heater with the cost of an electrical panel upgrade and maybe relocating that water heater to the garage. We see a total project cost of about $6,000. Without Go Green Home, and remember, $6,000 is before any rebates that might be available. But without Go Green Home, the borrower might see an average interest rate of about 9%, maybe 2 years, paying about $274 a month. With Go Green Home, our 48-month average interest rate right now is 4.7%. So it could be bringing that monthly payment down over half to $137. There's a minor sort of additional cost of interest in the total cost of the loan, maybe just an extra $15, but still pretty compelling benefits for the borrowers. And I will throw some information in the chat for contractors who want to register with our program. It's very easy. It takes just about an hour to do a training and fill out some paperwork, but we'd love to have you, and thank you for the time.
Follow with
Awesome.
Clear Result and Bayren. You're up next, if you're able to find your unmute button.
Yeah, thank you. This is Paul with the Bayren Home Plus program. So this is mainly a residential program. Next slide, please. So this services the 9 Bay Area counties, as you can see on the map here. It's funded by ratepayer tax dollars, overseen by the CPUC, so very similar to other programs that we've heard of. And it focuses specifically on energy efficiency. Again, mainly this one is going to be single family, but we do help with green labeling, things like the home energy score, as well as multifamily. So there's really no building that we can't help. Next slide. And here are incentive amounts. So with each of these can be individual. They do all, except for the last 2, require that they are installed by a participating contractor. So you do have to be an active participating contractor in the program to access these rebates. The two on the bottom, the induction range or cooktop and the heat pump clothes dryer, can both be completed by a homeowner without the assistance from a contractor. However, if you're in the home and you're doing everything and you install those as well, those can also be applied for. Next slide, please. So why join BayREN? What are the benefits for contractors? As I mentioned, you do have to be a participating contractor to actually access those rebates. So that's one benefit, but what does a contractor have to do? You can go to the next slide. And then click through here. There should be a couple that pop up. So thank you. So looking at this just shows that overall $77.50 in rebates. So if a homeowner were able to actually achieve basically everything that's available, that would be their maximum amount. So it's a pretty substantial amount that a homeowner can access through this program. $500 goes towards contractors for enrollments, basically for your enrollment in the program, as a little bonus after your first eligible project is completed. So you also get to be listed on the BayREN Find a Contractor web tool, which again is where you find those participating contractors that are eligible for all of these rebates. There is some marketing and outreach by the local governments as well. So the 9 Bay Area counties also do promote the program. So you wouldn't have to do your own marketing necessarily, but that's where a lot of this comes from, as well as local government participation. Next slide, please. And then the benefits of participation. So you get access to and support with multiple programs and resources. Some things that we talked about before were the PG&E. Right here is Home Plus, CCA programs, so community choice aggregates, Tech Clean California, like we talked about as well, that is additive to this, and then the Inflation Reduction Act, which we will find out a little bit more about later. So these are all programs that you do get access to and support with through this resource. So all of the Home Plus rebates and tech rebates are aligned. So any difference there, we would make sure was covered. We do also have an advisor resource, which doesn't necessarily show up on here, but that advisor resource allows customers a place to bounce their questions. I know a lot of contractors are busy. You don't always have time to do back and forth. Use the advising service. If you're trying to sell a project, that works too. So it is a third party unbiased source. They're not going to be sending people another direction, which I understand is oftentimes a concern for both parties. Homeowners want to be able to assume that the contractor that they're working with is a reputable contractor, and we're not just sending people to a specific contractor every time, and vice versa. Contractors don't want to hear that we're sending people away from them. So we're always here to try to help both parties. Next slide, please. And then how to become a participating contractor. Participating contractor requirements are pretty straightforward. You do need to be an active or current general, B general contracting or C specialty contracting license. So you need to have that. You need to offer at least one of the measures in the program. So from that previous list, duct replacement, HVAC, water heaters, insulation in the house, those are the typical measures. You need to serve at least one of the 9 Bay Area counties, so you don't necessarily need to reside in any of the counties, but you need to be able to provide service to one of the counties. And you need to maintain minimum insurance coverage per the contractor participation agreement. So it's a relatively straightforward path. There's not an active fee or anything like that to participate. And again, there are a lot of resources to help. Next slide, please. So rebate paperwork. A lot of contractors don't like rebate programs because of the paperwork. It's not so scary. A lot of our contractors actually partner with local raters. So those raters or people that can do the test outs for projects, which is another requirement as mentioned below. They can provide combustion safety testing, which is a requirement for most rebates. They can help with the permit pulling and finalizing. They can do Title 24 verifications, and most of them will do that rebate paperwork submittal as well. So pretty simple. They can do most all of it for you, or you can do it in-house. You may already be working with one of our partnered raters as well. So there is a list on our contractor network that you can see just specifically raters. And if you already work with one, that is a great foot in the door. But any ability to reach out, and that's what we're here for. So next slide, please. And next steps. Register your company. Should be a link in the chat. I will provide that in a second here. Bayron Contractor Services will reach out to you to discuss next steps and answer any questions that you have. And it's typically a pretty quick onboarding process. There is paperwork and packets that are available for downloading just online. Another way that you can reach out to us is by reaching out to the email provided here, which is support@bayren.org. And with that, we can pass it on to the next person. I believe that's the last slide there.
Hi, excuse me, good afternoon. My name is April Price with the Tri-County Regional Energy Network. So you're hearing from another REN, and I'm a program manager for our single family program. Next slide, please. So the 3C REN is a smaller REN. It's a coordination between 3 neighboring counties, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura. So relevant to our audience today, we're really talking about northern Santa Barbara County customers and San Luis Obispo County customers that are PG&E customers too. So 3C REN supports energy efficiency in our region by offering services for contractors, energy professionals, and households. And we are also a ratepayer funded program. Next slide. All of our services fit into one of these 3 categories. I'm mainly going to focus on the incentive offerings for single family homeowners, but I would like to just touch on the fact that we do provide energy code support for folks wanting to make sure that their projects are meeting energy code. And we also offer a great calendar of trainings for folks in our territory that want to improve knowledge around electrification or energy efficiency. For our home energy savings program, again, I'll be mainly speaking to our single family program, but we also offer incentives for multifamily properties. So please check out our website, or I'll pop my email in the chat to explore those, that other program as well. Next slide. So the single family home energy savings program is it's pretty cool in that almost any measure that saves energy or shifts energy usage can qualify for incentives. So we're not going to be providing a list of measures that have a corresponding definite incentive amount. The incentives are calculated again based on how much energy a customer saves. So it could be a number of things that you do for a home, or it could be just one upgrade that is done for the home. Next slide. And so how does this actually work? Half of the incentive is paid upfront. So a contractor will estimate the energy savings associated with their project, and they will be paid the incentive based on half of their projected energy savings. 3C REN is hired Recurve to implement the program. And so to participate in the program, contractors sign up to work with Recurve. And Recurve is a great resource for participating contractors. They really hold the contractors' hands in making sure that they are able to forecast energy savings, work with their clients, and submit their projects into their portal. Next slide, please. So really, why should you care about this program? I'm going to be showing some very high incentive values, especially for a certain class of customer. Also, as I mentioned, Doesn't matter what kind of energy savings you're working on, as long as at the end of the day, the customer is saving energy as measured by their meter. This program, like a few other programs, can also be stacked with some other programs. So we heard from Tech in our region, the CCA, Central Coast Community Energy, also has a program called Electrify Your Home that has very high incentives that can be stacked with our program. So the stacking potential in San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara counties is really exciting. Next slide, please. Like other programs, you do need to be an IOU customer within our region. And then just based on the fact that we are measuring the energy savings at the meter, customers cannot have added solar within the last or the previous 12 months before participating in the program. Next slide. So all of our incentives are paid directly to our participating contractors. Again, you get half upfront and then the other half over the year following the upgrade based on the metered savings of your customer. And it's really up to you, I'm speaking to the contractor audience, how much you're able to pass along to your customers. We do kind of hope that contractors will pass at least that upfront payment directly to the customers, but it's up to you at the end of the day. We are also really looking as a REN to serve our most hard to reach customers. And so folks on discounted utility rates, living in disadvantaged communities, or for folks in Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo counties that speak a language other than English as their primary language at home. Then you qualify for hard to reach and you are eligible for the higher incentives that I'm about to present. Next slide, please. So these are just a few examples. I know we really wanted to focus on electrification, but as our program also pays for energy efficiency, just giving you some examples here. You can see there's 2 incentive columns, so non-hard to reach and then hard to reach. And these are estimates of the incentives associated with the measures on your screen here. So let's just say you're getting an HVAC, or you're working with a customer to update their furnace, you're sticking with natural gas, and you estimate that, I'm sorry, we'll go with the pool pump, that you estimate there's about 1,000 kilowatt hour reduction. Then for a typical customer, we expect the incentive rate to be about $2,000, and for a hard to reach customer, looking at close to $6,000. So really high incentives. Next slide, please. And so again, focusing on our electrification options here for a heat pump, hot water heater, really high incentives looking at $2,500, and then for our hard to reach customers in the neighborhood of $8,000. So certainly we're not paying people to replace their water heaters, but really looking to cover the entire cost of the project. Similarly with HVAC heat pumps, very high incentives, you know, really looking possibly to cover the entire cost of the project. And I did just list the CCA, excuse me, the Central Coast Community Energy Electrify Your Home incentive value as well, just to really drive home the stacking potential for this program, or for these 2 programs together. Next slide, please. So I just want to stress that this is a really great opportunity for you to get referrals from customers and be supported in the entire process of planning for projects, submitting projects, and making sure that you're able to pass on some or all of the incentive to the customer. Next slide, please. In order to participate, you do need to enroll in our program. And so I've left the link here on the screen, and I can put it in the chat as well. Would love to just chat with you about what this might mean for you if you're a local contractor. You can call me directly, my name and phone number here on the screen, or our implementer partner, Recurve, Tyler, can also help answer your questions. Next slide, please. So I think I'm handing it over to Helen, and look forward to answering your questions in the chat. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, April. It's a pleasure to be here presenting today on behalf of East Bay Community Energy and Cal CCA. My name is Helen Mejia. I'm the Building Electrification Program Analyst at EBCE. So really quickly, next slide, please. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what is EBCE. We are the local power supplier, also referred to as a CCA, which you've heard throughout the presentation. I'll talk a little bit more about. And we cover the territory of Alameda County and City of Tracy. And we basically reinvest the earnings back into the community to create local green energy jobs, local energy programs, and clean power projects. So I'll go on to the next slide to talk a little bit about CCAs. So what is a CCA? It stands for Community Choice Aggregators, which are local power providers throughout California. Here in the Bay Area, in addition to EBCE, we have MCE, Sonoma Clean Power. And essentially what CCAs do is provide clean power choices to their community. Cal CCA provides over 11,000 megawatts. So there's over 25 CCAs actually operating in California, spanning over 200 cities, towns, and counties. So out of those, EBCE serves, like I said, the county of Alameda, City of Tracy, with about 640,000 customers. So I'll go on to the next slide to talk about how this works. So essentially EBCE or your local CCA, if you live in one of those territories in the map previously, EBCE buys clean power, and then PG&E delivers the power to customers, and they also maintain the grid. So customers pay PG&E for power delivery as they always have. And you benefit from clean energy as the customer, low rates, local governance, and innovative programs, which is what I'm here to talk to you folks about today. So we can go on to the next slide. So CCAs offer various programs to their customers. These include rebates, incentives, and more, sometimes financing as well. These programs are relevant to solar and battery storage for resilience, electric vehicles, EV charging infrastructure, building electrification, which is what a lot of folks are talking about on this call. This can include water heaters, specifically heat pumps, HVAC, so heating, cooling, ventilation, as well as induction cooktops and other electric appliances, as well as energy efficiency. So there are programs by CCAs that you can enroll in. If you save energy, you get benefits. And there are also incentives in the forms of community sponsorships and grants and so much more. A lot of CCAs partner, either work with each other to provide similar or comparable incentives regionally, or also partner with the REN, such as Bay REN or 3C REN, to provide incentives regionally. So please refer to your local CCA's website for more information on these programs and to sign up for updates. And so on the next slide, I will just show you how you can know if your community is powered by community choice. So you can visit calcca.org, and under the Impact tab, you can click on Powered by Community Choice. There you get a map that'll show you, the full territories of Cal CCA, as well as additional information on your specific CCA, some contact information and location as well. And I would definitely recommend visiting the CCA's website directly just to find out more about the program, since they're ever changing. So just make sure to visit their website to get the most. And especially if you have any questions about how it works, your bills or programs, or signing up for any of those offerings, definitely feel free to reach out to your local CCA directly. And actually that brings me to the end of my short presentation. If you have any questions and live in the EBCE territory, please feel free to reach out or contact your local CCA as mentioned. Thank you so much for the time.
All right, Noah, it looks like we got you on now. Hand it over.
Great, thank you. I'm going to close it out with a brief overview of the Inflation Reduction Act and the incentives available for residential electrification. I'll start by just acknowledging that there's a lot of confusion in the policy landscape right now around the Inflation Reduction Act. So some of these programs, the ones that are the tax credits administered through IRS, there's at least some guidance out now. The rebates, there is much less guidance out. So I just want to acknowledge that and say that this information is all this is as much information as we have, and we'll be sure to continue to update our own resources at Rewiring America and the resources we're sharing with you all as DOE and IRS and the federal government releases more information about these programs, which takes me to the next slide. So I thought it might be helpful to offer a few top-line messages about the Inflation Reduction Act. So that first one is that it's the most significant investment in clean energy in this nation's history. So it's going to take some time to get the programs right, especially the new programs, the rebates especially. We'll go into all of the details there, but patience is key, I think. But that means that now is the perfect time for people to start planning for how they will electrify their homes and make the most of the IRA incentives, which you all can definitely help out with. And then the third message is a key one. The different IRA incentives are going to take effect at different times. We'll get to that later, but the tax credits are available now. The rebates are not available now. And I think that's a key concern to just clear up some confusion out there. So the next slide offers a table of the relevant incentive programs in the Inflation Reduction Act. I know that it's a lot of information, but a very quick general overview is that there are two rebate programs. The electrification rebates offer rebates for low and moderate income households for specific electric appliance installations. The efficiency rebates offer incentives for whole home energy retrofits. And then there are three relevant tax credits: 25C, which offers credits for heat pumps, heat pump water heaters; 25D, solar and storage; and 30C, EV chargers. You'll notice that the electrification rebates and the efficiency rebates have an allocated budget of $8.8 billion. The tax credits are uncapped in their budget, but the next slide shows the CBO estimates for the tax credit values. So if you add them all up, that's over $40 billion in residential electrification incentives across the country. But I always like to note that these Congressional Budget Office estimates of the tax credit uptake are relatively conservative. So my next slide shows that the electric potential is actually much bigger than that. So if you think about the value of the tax credits just scales with the ambition of our collective uptake of these technologies. So the more uptake we have, the more heat pumps installed, the more this is eligible for the taking, the more impact on energy costs and greenhouse gas emissions reductions there is. So that's my note of optimism here, that a lot of this is really in our control, and that we can exploit and maximize these investments really quite a lot. So we'll start on the next slide with the tricky stuff, the rebates, and then we'll move into the tax credits, which are a little easier to understand and process. But we'll start with the electrification rebates. So these are the point of sale rebates up to $14,000 per household for low and moderate income households to install specific electric appliances. So you'll see that there are those rebate levels: $8,000 for a heat pump, $1,750 for heat pump water heaters, etc. Those rebate amounts will cover 100% of costs for low-income households defined as less than 80% of area median income, and 50% for households 80 to 150% of area median income. And they cover both purchase and installation costs, as do all of the incentives, unless I note it otherwise. The electrification rebates also include a $500 contractor incentive, and they're administered by state energy offices. So in California, that's the CEC. And they should be available hopefully by the end of this year, but it might not be until next year. Then on the next slide, and apologies in advance as I fly through this information. I know that it's a lot, and I will be happy to answer questions afterwards. But I'll try to get through this all in the short amount of time we have together. So the efficiency rebates are the other rebate program. This program incentivizes modeled energy saving retrofits of at least 20% or measured energy saving retrofits of at least 15%. So whereas the electrification rebates are incentivizing those one-off appliance installations, the efficiency rebates are really incentivizing more holistic whole home energy retrofit. And they're tied to the amount of energy savings. So the modeled energy savings have an $8,000 cap for LMI households, or 80% of total project costs, and then a $4,000 cap, or 50% coverage for non-LMI households. And those two caps are for households who achieve the maximum threshold of energy savings, which is at least 35%. And then the measured energy savings pathway is uncapped, so that might get you up to $8,000 or more, depending on the amount of energy savings and whether or not a household is low income or non-low income. There's no income cap on the efficiency rebates, so unlike the electrification rebates, which are specifically geared towards LMI households, the efficiency rebates are not, but they do include a $200 contractor incentive per project located in disadvantaged communities. And similar to the first rebates program, it's administered by state energy offices and should be available hopefully by the end of this year. If not, then by next year. My next slide includes some frequently asked questions about these rebates. So I tried to anticipate some of the questions that might come up, starting with, are these rebates available now? Hopefully I've impressed this enough already that they are not available now. The timeline is that DOE still has their RFI open for initial program guidance. Then they'll release that guidance, which will go out to states, who will then apply for program funding, who will then be awarded program funding, and then they will have to set up those programs. So it's really quite a long process. There is a risk of funding running out. So $8.8 billion in rebates sounds like a lot, but as California knows with the tech clean rebates, it's not that much. There are efficiency standards for the electrification rebates, Energy Star. There are not efficiency standards currently for the efficiency rebates. California, I'll just note here, gets $582 million according to the state energy program allocations. And then there are a few more questions here. I'll skip down to the retroactivity. This is a question we get a lot. If these rebate programs don't hit the streets until 2024, will they be retroactive? I think it's very unlikely. It'll probably be up to the CEC to decide that, but I'd be very surprised if that's the case. Okay, so the next slide shows that we've just gotten through the two rebate programs, and then we can skip down one more to the 25C tax credit. So here's the 30% tax credit for residential efficiency and electrification upgrades. 25C existed previously before the IRA, but the old version was 10% up to $300 off a heat pump. So that's now 30% up to $2,000 off a heat pump. So it's quite a big increase in the value of the tax credit. There is the annual credit cap, the total credit cap of $3,200 per household per year. That includes subcaps of $2,000 per year for heat pumps and heat pump water heaters, and then $1,200 per year for everything else. But that total annual credit resets each year. So I think a lot of households will claim $2,000 for a heat pump maybe in 2023, and then another $2,000 for a mini split or for a heat pump water heater in 2024 or 2025 through 2030. And the tax credits, 25C and the next two, are all available now. Then we'll go to the next slide, 25D. This is the solar tax credit. I think a lot of folks are familiar with this one because it has existed already. It's very popular. It's the main driver of residential solar in the US right now. So this tax credit, the old version was going to sunset. It was sunsetting currently in 2022. But the new one boosts it back up to 30% for solar panels, for geothermal. It now includes battery storage as well. And it's available now and retroactive to 2022. So if you know someone who installed rooftop solar in 2022 and got a 26% tax credit because it was sunsetting, they can retroactively claim the full 30% value. All right, the next slide is some frequently asked questions on 25C and 25D. So these credits are available now. The IRS has released not final program guidance, but they've released an FAQ on 25C and 25D. So I encourage folks who are interested to go check out that FAQ. It includes a lot of this information, but some more questions and some scenarios, so it's a useful resource. There are efficiency standards for 25C, so heat pumps and heat pump water heaters must meet the Consortium for Energy Efficiency's highest quote unquote non-advanced tier. So for California, that means that ducted heat pumps the CE's highest non-advanced tier is aligned with Energy Star, basically aligned with Energy Star. And then for ductless heat pumps, the CE standards are slightly higher than Energy Star. And I'll just, a few more questions here. The credits aren't refundable, so taxpayers will need adequate federal income tax liability. So for the 40% or so of the US population that does not pay federal income tax, they will not be able to claim this credit. But the 25D does carry over from year to year. So if you have limited tax liability that's less than the value of the credit, you can roll the credit forward until you've claimed the entire value of the credit. So the next slide shows that we've gotten through 4 out of the 5 residential incentive programs, and then we'll go to the last one, which should be easy to get through. This is 30C, which is the alternative fuel refueling property credit, or the EV charging credit. So this one has also existed previously. It's a 30% tax credit for residential EV chargers up to $1,000 per charger. It's now restricted though in 2023 and beyond to rural and or low income communities. So I've seen that this is a point of confusion in some IRA summaries out there where some folks are missing this point, but the credit is restricted to rural and low income communities going forward. It also, fun fact, it applies to bidirectional charging equipment now, so vehicle to grid charging equipment, things like that, vehicle to house, and charging equipment for two-wheeled vehicles like e-bikes. So the next slide shows that we've made it very quickly through all 5 of those incentive programs. I'll just add that there are also the EV tax credits, so that's $7,500 for a new EV, $4,000 for used EV, and then the one other residential electrification tax credit that might be relevant to folks here is 45L, which is the tax credit for new energy efficient homes. So this is a tax credit really aimed at home builders, but if anyone out there is building a new home, if it meets EPA Energy Star new home certifications, it's eligible for a $2,500 tax credit. And if it meets DOE's Zero Energy Ready Homes certification, it's eligible for a $5,000 tax credit. My next slide just goes over some of the incentives available to workforce and labor. So as I mentioned, starting from the bottom, there's the $500 incentive per project for the electrification rebates, the $200 incentive for per project for the efficiency rebates, provided that the projects are located in disadvantaged communities. And then the IRA includes a separate state-based home energy efficiency contractor training grant program. So that's $200 million over the next 10 years to provide states the financial assistance to develop workforce training programs with a specific eye towards preparing contractors to claim and process the electrification and efficiency rebates. So with that, my next slide just lists my email address in case folks have more questions. I know that I raced through all that information very quickly, but our website, rewiringamerica.org, will include program updates as they're released, and we'll stay up to date with the latest guidance and try to get that out to you all. Thank you.